Hello world, it is Tuesday, August 9th, 2022, and looking out the window at Defiance, it's kind of overcast, a little spitty, misty this morning, cooler, still kind of humid, but not terrible, and I think today's only supposed to get into the upper 70s, so I think we're going to have some cooler weather for the next few days, highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s, upper 50s, which is a nice break. The devotion is entitled By Faith, written by Vicki Kemper. And Vicki bases the devotion upon an abridged selection from Hebrews chapter 11, verses 17 through 28. By faith Abraham, by faith Isaac, by faith Jacob, by faith Joseph, by faith Moses. And then Vicki writes, this partial list of ancient spiritual giants for the entire stem winder, see Hebrews 11 to 12:3, a selection of which is what part of the sermon will be based on this coming Sunday, is meant to inspire and embolden the persecuted people who have every earthly reason to forget about following Jesus and go back to their safer, if smaller, lives. Perhaps the litany did help first century Christians keep on keeping on. Perhaps that has encouraged you too, to open your overwhelmed heart, look up from the anguish of your own challenges, personal and existential, and trust God with the long view. But perhaps you're one of the many people who are daunted and discouraged by this litany of faith keepers, people who would never think of themselves as heroic, people who think faith is more about an absence of doubt than the audacity to trust a greater good, despite their doubts. People who see trust and hope as luxuries of the privileged. So here's my invitation to you. First, consider that faith is not something rare and heroic, but an intrinsic part of the made in the divine image package. If you're human, you have it. Next, make a list of all the things you have done by faith. Your list may begin and end with getting out of bed this morning, and that's okay, because for some of us, that is a huge leap of faith. But I'm betting that when you begin to recognize that what may feel like obligation or desperation is, in fact, faith at work, you'll inspire yourself and others to live deeply and generously. The prayer. For whatever it is that keeps us moving in the direction of life and love, and for the grace that holds us when we feel we can't go on. Thank you. Amen. For me, a couple things from this devotion are that sometimes we lift up the heroes of the Bible as bigger than life, and in fact they were simply just human beings struggling to find their way through life and trying to make sense of what they felt was an interaction with the divine and in the world, and assigning things that happened to the divine or not to the divine. They were human beings, and they made mistakes. And if you read closely, you'll see that they had issues. And we all have issues. So don't let the heroes of the Bible put you off. The other thing it reminded me of is just look for something each day, something simple that you trust in, that are signs of faith, even if it's just, as Vicki said, just getting out of bed in the morning. Because for some people, especially those who struggle with bipolar disorder, sometimes, or depression in general, just getting out of bed is a struggle. It's hard to get going. Some people face tremendous difficulties each and every day, physically and mentally and emotionally, and others not so much as others, but in their mind it's just as big. It kind of reminds me of when we were teenagers and how worried we all were about what other people thought of us, and every single teenager was thinking the same thing. They weren't thinking of other people, they were thinking of themselves, and problems we had as teenagers. Now that we're older, we look back upon and think it really wasn't as big of a deal as we thought it was, but at the time it was real for us. So keep looking. And it's okay if there are days that you really struggle and you don't feel like looking. That's okay. Take a break and then go back at it. And part of prayer can be simply just looking at your life and trying to find one good thing that will help you get you through this day. Well, I hope you have a good day. I hope you can find that one thing to get you through this day. And I hope to talk to you again tomorrow.